So she says, yeah, everything he said was true, but then she filled in details that were not in his made up confession that verified that she was directly involved.
What was the declaration of Darnell Bolton, aka Poochie, and what happened when you presented this to Theresa?
So what happened when we knew, just through the psychology of doing thousands of, interviews and interrogations, sometimes it's people sometimes struggle to be the first one to tell the truth. Oftentimes, like if somebody thinks that somebody else has already let the cat out of the bag, they're like, hey, I'm not the one who brought it up first.
Yeah.
It gives them just that little bit of justification. Well, hey, I wasn't the one who said it first.
Yeah, they want someone else to jump. And so like they take the blame. And then if you tell the truth, you're just adding on to what someone else already said.
Yeah. So this is a well played out game in law enforcement. We do this all the time. We say somebody said something that they didn't just because we want that other person to think that somebody else has ratted them out.
Yeah.
So we do this ruse. And because it's very clear, like she's going to really have a lot of trouble divulging the secrets that she knows. We can tell just from the initial interview. So we make it easier on her by saying, listen, Poochie already confessed to this whole thing. He mentioned you. He confessed to the whole thing before he died. Yeah. So for her, she's like, okay, well, shit. If Poochie put it out there, then, there's no real harm in me. So she says, yeah, everything he said was true, but then she filled in details that were not in his made up confession that verified that she was directly involved. Like she's the one that told us, this is how I met with Suge. This is how I made the payments to Poochie. These are the things that I did that we didn't know until she disclosed them.
And the declaration is literally a piece of paper, like, Declaration of Independence, you with all the instead of the rights and the freedoms, it has like in bullet points what you wrote that Poochie did that night, according to what you know, and then signed by him. So she's seeing like so
the whole thing's made up.
The whole thing's made up, just to be clear, and she's holding. I feel like that's kind of what. At least in my mind, it's impossible to know what was going on in Theresa's head, but holding a physical piece of paper and seeing a signature, and then you also dated it April Fool's, which
April 1st.
April 1st, which was really funny. It's kind of like the humor in the darkness situation. Like, what if we just make the date April Fool's? So it's dated April 1st. It has the bullet points of the fake confession from Darnell Bolton, aka Poochie, and then Theresa's holding a physical piece of paper, reading this, seeing the signature, and that makes her feel comfortable enough to then corroborate it and then add the details on top of what you didn't know what happened. And she gives that, going back to, feeling comfortable when someone else rats first, that gives her an opening to go like, yes, and this happened also.
Correct. Exactly.
That's genius.
It worked out. I mean, it got her to, it worked out. It worked out for her too, because, we didn't incarcerate her. We didn't take away her kids. We kept our side of the bargain, as we did essentially with Keefe. But yeah, now we've got the answers to what happened.
So Poochie pulled the trigger on Biggie, and baby Lane Anderson pulled the trigger on Tupac. Both of them are dead at this point. They've been killed. Yeah. But Suge Knight is still alive, and he's someone that is prosecutable. Like he deserves more guilt than what I think. He's in jail at this point for a bunch of years. Like,
it's essentially doing life. He won't outlive his conviction, I don't think.
But he's alive. Are there other people that are involved heavily in it that are still out there? Or Suge Knight's basically the only one?
Yeah, Suge's really the only one. These confessions and both the murders happened in 2008, 2009. You know, Poochie's been dead for years. Orlando Anderson's been dead for years. Not too long after, the driver of the white Cadillac, which was a guy named Terrence Brown, he gets killed in a robbery. So now the getaway driver in Tupac's murder is now dead. DeAndre Smith, who was in the back seat with Orlando Anderson when they shot Tupac, he dies of like morbid obesity, just dies of poor health.
That's an embarrassing way to die as a gangster. Everyone else gets shot and killed. They go out on their shield, and you're just like, "Yeah, I died from being fat."
Super unhealthy.
I would lie if I was his family. I'd be like, "Yeah, he died in a shootout."
Oh yeah, definitely.
Funny.
Yeah. So and then Poochie's dead. He was a lone gunman. So the conspiracy in Biggie's murder is so small. It's really three people. You've got Suge, who's directing it. You've got Theresa, who's acting as the intermediary, and then you have Poochie. It's a 3-person conspiracy. Poochie's dead. She ends up with immunity, and then the problem with prosecuting Suge just based on her confession alone is very difficult because she has such a horrible track record with criminal activity. So it's a he said, she said in court, and you can prove that, she's got a history of getting fake driver's licenses and different types of fraud, which is essentially all lying. It's all perjury. It's all, so, you've got a proven perjurer. Now you're asking a judge or a jury to say, hey, this is the one we should believe her on.